Hi all, in this session we would be talking about Ansible. That's basically introduction to Ansible for beginners. Let us start. Agenda of this session is first couple of minutes about me. Second one is what is configuration management tool, what is Ansible, why Ansible is popular, how to install Ansible on a laptop, and what are all the basic terms used in Ansible. Next would be a practice session, and thereafter a question and answer session. My name is Sangesh Kotni. Currently I am working for Sapient as a senior DevOps consultant. I have around 18 plus years of experience in IT industry. I started my career as a Java developer in a startup. First 7 years I worked on Java related technologies. After that I moved into a build and deployment. Now nearly last 7 years I am working on a cloud related technologies. You can connect me via LinkedIn, or I have my YouTube channel name is beginner.academy. Or from there also you can connect me.
Let us come back to the configuration management. So Ansible is a number one configuration management tool. Basically, in order to manage or provision software and its required setting, right? So any three-tier structure, we would be having a web application layer and as well as a database layer, right? So as part of installation of a virtual machine and all those things, Terraform would be used. Basically, in the current world, for infrastructure provisioning, we use Terraform. But thereafter, once a virtual machine is created, post that, if you wanted to install few servers or few agents or any Nginx server or any Apache server, right? Depending on your needs. So what you do is you install it, and thereafter you do configuration related to your application, right? So application specific, some configuration you have to do it. So for that, those are all the tasks would be called as a configuration management, right? So for that purpose, we use since everything is automation, right? Infrastructure as a code, so we use at least one tool, right? So this includes cloud as well as other DevOps toolchain. Basically, you can create Ansible is used to do a configuration management of any of your application settings or even any DevOps tools settings. For example, you wanted to install JFrog or Artifactory on your own virtual machine in cloud, right?
You can use Ansible.
So yeah, since it is a code, right? So Ansible code is, we can code it as a YAML file. Since we can code it, hence we can version control it. Version control it in the sense we can keep it in any repository, for example, GitHub or Azure repos or any tool, any version control tools. You can take. I mean, in olden days we used to use CVS or SVN. Nowadays, Bitbucket, all GitHub, those bit you can use it. So, which gives since we can control it via version control, it gives us a lot of benefits, which are we can repeat and run the same code, same YAML file, same playbooks, right? In n number of time, n number of environment. In any industry standard environment would be a dev environment, test environment, and minimum production environment. These three environments would be there. So the same code, we can use it to deploy to all across the environment. Since the code is the same thing, so there won't be any issue with the human error and all those things. It won't be there. It will repeat. It will work as is. How it has worked in dev environment, in the next environment also it will work in the same manner, behave in the same manner. So you can trace the changes in the infra. Basically, there won't be any dilemma saying that if you have developed tested in dev environment and you wanted to deploy it in a next environment, that's test environment. So obviously you would be doing using a pipeline as a CD, that is a continuous delivery. So obviously that pipeline, who has run it, you can trace it. And obviously you can audit it if someone has added a specific task or someone has modified it, right? So you can check it in the code repository and check it who exactly done and when exactly it was done. And if required, you can revert it back to the older version as well. So implementation would be fast because in olden days, we used to test it in dev environment and bring the production environment. It used to take months together effort, right? So nowadays it is almost all the machines are on cloud, so it is quick and easy for us. And since this is tested, our code is tested in a lower environment, it is easy to it would be very quick to learn the same run the same playbook in upper environments. So it is reliable, and obviously no chance of human error. Reason being it is tested in dev environment, so you can rely on that. It will deploy it without any errors. So examples of configuration management tool. So number one tool is Ansible. Second one is a Chef, and third you can go for a Puppet. You can see here 2005 Puppet came into picture, and then 2009 Chef, and then came in Ansible in 2012. So basically, I've been working with Ansible from almost some 6 to 7 years. So yeah, so it is why people went for Ansible is reason being is it is not a this Puppet and Chef is a push-based pull-based configuration. Means whatever the configuration is required, you push you will pull from the servers, and over there a specific agent would be running it. In Ansible, it's basically a push in the sense the configuration what is there in your either laptop. If you are running from laptop, you will push the configuration in the sense, in this case, YAML files, all the playbooks configuration, that would be pushed to next environment or virtual machine, which virtual machine you wanted to install some softwares, right? Those configuration would be pushed to that, and when you run those tasks, automatically those whatever written in your task, it will go and do that for you. So that is the reason Ansible is a bit famous, and it is agentless as well. This Puppet and the Chef, it is basically a client server model. So obviously there is a whichever VM you wanted to handle via configuration management, there would be a agent would be running on those virtual machine. It's again an overhead for to maintain it, all those bits. And in Ansible case, it is only from either you can, if it is a small project, you can run it from your laptop. But ideally in big IT companies or in any product companies, so you keep either Ansible Tower or using Ansible itself, using on a agent, you will run your Ansible. So over there, Ansible would be installed. From there, agent would be calling, it would be interacting with the virtual machine, and it will push the configuration over to a virtual machine, and it will run those specific tasks. So that is the reason Ansible is a bit famous. So if you see here, this is a sample example of Azure. So Azure application stack, basically in a configuration management. So this is our virtual machine. This is a Nginx. You wanted to install Nginx. So all the infrastructure will be built by Terraform. Only if you wanted to install directly on this particular virtual machine, this N stand for Nginx, you wanted to install it, then Ansible would be used in order to install, maintain, and update any of the update this Nginx. Basically, if there is any vulnerabilities is there, you want, for example, Log4j issues came in picture, right, recently. So you wanted to update any patches and all those bits. So that you can do it using Ansible. Now let us see it. What exactly is Ansible is. So it is an open source IT automation tool, and it is widely used. It's a number one tool. Okay, so here in this small picture, you can see it. So Ansible can manage cloud, even it can manage your data centers, right? And even OpenShift, Kubernetes, all those tasks can be done by Ansible. So for if you're a system admin, right? So there would be a daily repetitive task would be there. Check whether there is a issue is on, if there is any space issues there, or is there any errors are there in the logs. A space is on a virtual machine, if there is a space has increased. So those are all the repetitive tasks. You can do it via Ansible. And for example, you wanted to deploy your application, right? So in a virtual machine, so you can use Ansible. Installation of a software, patching of a software, all those things can be done by Ansible. So in a real world, in any of our applications, so obviously application related configuration would be there. Those all the things can be done by Ansible. So if think that your OS needs there is a vulnerabilities are there, so you want that OS has to be updated, right? So in that case also you can use Ansible. Using Ansible, write couple of tasks, test it in a lower environment, and if you run those tasks, automatically it will do work for you. It will go and update relevant tasks. So let us take an example. So if think that if you have only few servers as shown in this diagram, basically you have 2 web servers, 3 application server, and 1 DB server. So it is easy, right? So only these many servers, if it is there as a system admin or a DevOps engineer, you log into those boxes and whatever task you need to do it. For example, update patches and all those things, you can do it. But it is, in this case, it is totally 6 servers are there, right? So 6 servers, yeah, it may take 30 minutes or 40 minutes or a couple of hours, right? So that can be handled by system admin. If you're running these many web servers or application servers and DB, think that if it is a one OS update itself, you can think of this guy would be, he would be literally crying about it, right? So he should understand that which boxes he has updated it, and you should keep a track of all these servers. And you can think of it would be difficult, and as well as there can be a chances of human errors, right? So you can say that, yeah, you can recruit so many DevOps engineer or system admin to handle it, right? But at a long run, it is not feasible, because again, it's a cost to the company, right? In order to maintain these many servers, you require think that another 10 system admin. It's a cost to the company. And obviously, if you recruit also, it doesn't make sure that there is no human error won't be there. You can't guarantee that, right? So that is the reason we need to go for automation, and there comes in the picture of Ansible. Okay. So there comes Ansible. So Ansible, in between, as a system admin or a DevOps engineer, it comes in between these servers, and in between you and these many servers. So it will become you write only once and deploy to these many servers. So there would be a little bit learning curve if you don't know the Ansible. Little bit, it's basically written in a YAML. So YAML configuration or syntax, or if you know about it, it would be a bit easier for you. Once you write it, once you tested it, for example, this would be once you test it in lower environment, you can test it in higher environment as well. But the coding wise, effort wise, it would be only once. So next is why Ansible is so why it is so popular. So though it is released in 2012, but it picked up main attention of all the DevOps engineer. Reason being is it's open source, free to use, easy to learn, and automated. And as I said earlier, it's a agentless in the sense there are no agents running on your virtual machines. So it is there is no headache of maintaining those agents. It is easy. I mean, if you ask me how much easy it is, it will take half an hour kind of a thing to install Ansible itself. Not half an hour, yeah, 15 to 20 minutes. You can install on your laptop. I mean, immediately you can start work on a hello world example, and you can start and build it. But compared to its competitor, it's a bit difficult, right? So it is a bit easy compared to its competitors. So, and it has a great community support as well. It was not recently, some 3 to 4 years back, it was acquired by Red Hat, right? So then onwards, it was further community support wise. Earlier, it was open source. Obviously, people got a bit feared. Obviously, open source product, there won't be any community support and all, right? But after acquisition of Ansible by Red Hat, people got more interested in that. Reason being is obviously community support, you get it. How to install on Ansible on a laptop? It's basically, if you are on a Mac, it's just a curl this bit, and if you run these many commands, you would be able to install Ansible on your laptop. Further easy, if you know brew install Ansible, single command, it will install on your laptop. So if you are running on a Linux, right? Basically, this is a command you need to run it. Sudo yum install Ansible. So that will do for you. If you are running on Ubuntu, these are all the commands you can use it. The problem is majority of our system admin or DevOps engineer uses Windows. There is, as of now, natively Windows host running Ansible. It's a bit difficult. So for that, 2 ways you can do it, either using Sigwin and then on top of that one installing Ansible, or using a Linux virtual machine via Oracle VirtualBox, right? And then installing Ansible. You install a VirtualBox and then on top of that one virtual machine of any OS flavor, and then over there you can practice it. Okay. So next is what are the basic terms of Ansible. So once you install it, I would say just run this particular command, Ansible localhost -ping. It's basically checks installation is good or not, and it is a single command which tells you yes, Ansible is installed properly, and it basically does the ping on your local laptop on your local host, and response is basically ping pong, it will come. So for example, I'll show you. So you have seen, right? So Ansible, what I did was localhost. I just did a ping. Response is a ping pong, basically, right? So this is the response we got it. So that means it is it's working fine. Ansible, there is no issue at all. So next, coming back to Ansible playbook. So when we say it as a playbook, right? Think about it as a play, right? So in a play, playbooks consist of a number of plays. Number of play, you can think of any drama, right? So in a drama is a play, right? Inside that one, there would be many roles would be there. So it goes in that analogy, right? So Ansible playbook. So in this particular command, it's basically the playbook runs all the plays. Each play would be obviously having a multiple either task. Under that, roles would be there. Roles can call task as well. So if you wanted to run a specific task, so what you could do is under your task, you can mention the tags. So using only Ansible playbook tags, you can run your first task. So using only -tags as a variable, you need to pass it. As an extra command, you need to pass it. It will run that particular task. So if you wanted to skip any of the tasks, so it's basically -skip -task. If you use it, it will obviously skip that particular task, but it will run rest other tasks. Let us. This is one of the playbook, right? So example of a playbook. So here, if you could see here, what it says is here we have web server. Host is a web server. Remote user, which user Ansible would be using in order to talk to virtual machine. That is root. So next I would be writing is a task, which are all the tasks he has to run it. So basically what in this code it has been written is, it is basically to install HTTPD. HTTPD is nothing but Apache, right? And then start the Apache server. So this is the first half of the bit is for updating a web server, right? So next one is updating a DB server. So host is database, and task what it is doing is it is going to internet and getting the Postgres latest, and that would be installed. And state, if you see here, it is given as a started. So whatever it has been given, the state, it does it. So I'll give you a demo and I'll show you how exactly it can be done. So apart from playbook, right? So what we require is an inventory. So here we mention basically our IP address. This is not a dynamic one. This is a thing that you have a data center. So over there, dynamically inventory, you can't update it. So Ansible picks up this particular inventory and understands in which virtual machine it has to go and do the task. So in this example, what it was shown is host equals web servers. Web servers are there, right? So it comes to here. Here it sees web servers, right? And the host IP address it has been given. So Ansible, using this inventory file, it understands which IP address it has to go in and log in. So in order to log into virtual machine, right, what it does is in this case web servers, in this case what it uses is a SSH. So Ansible, either if you are running from your laptop, so in that case from your laptop to that virtual machine, the firewall should be open on a port 22. Basically with that one, Ansible will talk to the virtual machine where in this case a web server. It will log into that box via SSH and it will do the required task of in this case installing of Apache and writing Apache configuration file. So similarly, database also it works like that itself. It picks up from the inventory. It goes to this particular host and pick this up this particular IP, and then it will install Postgres SQL. 1 second. Yeah, so this is the first is in Ansible playbook. You should know. You should know how to write it, and then is the inventory. So in cloud case, what will happen is it's basically we use dynamic inventory. That probably in the next session I will show how exactly dynamic inventory can be built. So as of now, it is a hard-coded one because in cloud it is immutable, right? So IP address can change at any cost, and we can't maintain these IP address in a hard-coded way because you spin it depending on your subnet, it picks up a particular IP, right? So that you don't have a control. So we use a concept called as a dynamic inventory. So let us before practice session. So do you guys have any questions? I will wait for some couple of minutes. Yeah.
So in the previous screen where you have a playbook, can you please go to that slide?
Yeah.
Yeah, this one. So if the first part, it's just like any random thing we can put, right? Update web servers, hosts, you mentioned that if you are mentioning web servers, then it will go to the inventory and take the IPs from there.
Correct.
Remote user.
The name is basically meaningful. What exactly this playbook would be doing it, right? So that
Right.
bit we mention it. It's a user-friendly description basically.
Okay.
Host is it maps against web servers. It is written. Next page it goes to here inventory. It picks up this particular IP address. In this web servers, in the diagram I showed you 3 web servers were there. So here, for example, I had kept only 2. So yeah, so web server, it targets this particular data and picks this data, and then it logs into those particular boxes and performs this particular task. In this case, 2 tasks.
We don't have to specifically define what file these servers IPs are mentioned anywhere.
While running the command, we should mention which inventory file it has to use.
So where we define that?
While running your Ansible playbook command. I'll show you.
Okay, and about the task, so what exactly it is doing, updating the web server. So can you a little bit explain on these tasks, what exactly it is doing?
Okay, tasks are basically any action you wanted to perform on virtual machine. In this case, think that you have installed a virtual machine. It's a plain vanilla virtual machine, nothing is there, right? So your requirement is for web servers, you need to install Apache servers, right? And put the configurations, application related configuration. So this is the basic 2 configuration in any of the Apache server. So for that, you write like this. It's basically what it does is, the name is HTTPD. Apache, it goes and downloads the required binaries, and it will make it as it will install on that particular virtual machine. Before this particular playbook was run, it was a vanilla system. Apache wasn't there, nothing was there, right? So as part of your requirement, you are supposed to install Apache as well as put Apache configuration into that particular web servers. In this case, in this example, in this inventory, you can see 15 and 16 are the 2 virtual machines are there. So on both the boxes, this has to be installed and configuration has to be changed.
So it is like when we install Apache, by default there will be httpd.conf comes with it, default one. So
correct.
What exactly? It's like after the installation, it is taking httpd.j2 and copying it on place of
that's right. Yeah, that's right. In the second task, what it is doing is, obviously in Apache configuration, application related configuration, for example, location match for your application specific bit, it has to be amended, right? So for that, in your code, in your local box, this J2 would be there. This SRV in this particular path, it would be there. Destination path, this is the path it will go and update. It will pick from this source location, and in your destination location, in this particular path, it will go and deploy it.
We have to keep this httpd.j2, right? Like because everybody will have a different application.
Agreed. It's a specific to your application.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So in second example is also, it's a tasks. Task is nothing but doing one activity, right? So in the second example, it is basically it will install. It will pick latest from internet and picks up this Postgres SQL and install it on virtual machine. And second one would be it starts it. So once Postgres is installed, it will automatically start it. State equals state colon started means the desired state of our task should be Postgres SQL should be in a started condition. So automatically it will start it.
Okay, last question. So this thing, ansible.builtin.yum or ansible.builtin.templates.service, what exactly are these things? And like, let's say this installed the Apache, copied the http.conf. Now next is like I want to install, like set up the SSL. So there will be something different for that. So how we find out all these different notations?
See, those notations are available in Ansible documentation site. So think that you want, these are all called as the modules. Okay. In Ansible, how it works is already modules are pre-built in by either by Ansible or by the community. So those modules, I'll just go to show you. So these are all the modules it has been developed. Okay, so these are all the things you can pick it up specific to your requirement, right? So for example, Acme certificate, right? So here, how exactly it has to be written, with examples they have written it. Okay, you got it, right? So and what is mandatory and all the for example, here these settings it has been written. So there are description is also it is given in this particular docs.ansible.com. So what, depending on your criteria requirement, there is a parameter you need to pass, and the parameter what exactly it does, the comments has been given over here in this particular document. So you need to pick this particular depending on your requirement. You need to find a module. These many modules are there, right? It is ever growing, and yeah, so these modules are created by community as well as by Ansible. So those things you need to use it and build it.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other question? If I don't think that it is a silly question or a silly answer, you can ask. There is no question is silly. Okay. So as a beginner, you can ask anything. Either you can ask in this call if you are a bit hesitant. You can ask in WhatsApp chat as well, or you can contact me as well. So no need to worry think that it's a silly question. Okay.
Yeah, Samir, this is Nitin.
Yeah, Nitin.
Samir, so my question is here. Suppose my setup is already built without Terraform. Okay, it is a manual we created, and now I wanted to be introduce the Ansible. Okay, to control the applications, whatever application I want to be add there. So it can be happen, or
yes,
we have to adopt this one from the beginning. How we can be?
See, Ansible and Terraform both are different tools. So think that in your use case, you have not used Ansible to build any virtual machine, right?
Correct.
So then once a virtual machine is built, then also you can use Ansible. So you can use Terraform plus Ansible as well as individually Ansible also you can use it. There is no dependency. That is what I'm trying to say.
And one more thing, you explained that earlier one that this is the agent-based tool, right? Each machines need to be having that agent, right? Ansible agent, correct?
No. It is a agentless. It is. So
okay, it was the agentless.
Yeah,
okay.
Chef and Puppet is the agent. Client server model it uses it, but Ansible is agentless, meaning there is no agent is required.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No problem. Any other question, or should I move on to the practical session? Okay, then I will move on to the practical one. Okay, so Nitin, you asked that question. It is, I did the same thing. I did not use a Terraform in order to create my virtual machine. I'll show you it now. In order to practice this particular session, you require your Ansible is installed. Ansible should be up and running either in your laptop, or if you wanted to run your virtual Ansible from a particular virtual machine, then in that particular virtual machine, Ansible should be installed. Let us go to the virtual machine. 1 second. Okay, so the example you had taken it, right, Nitin? So this particular virtual machine I had created manually. Okay, so if you see my activity log, I had manually done it. So some 2 hours ago, I had created it manually. Okay, so this particular machine. So the setup wise, I'll show you my setup. For YAML, right? In order to work with YAML, so it is basically we, as a working professional, we use there is another tool, IDE. We call it as Atom, right? So that is, it looks nice, and even use it whenever you are working with a YAML file. It is bit easy because you can see it properly and with the color coded. You working with YAML is indentation problem you face it. If there is a space, think that there is a space is there, it will give you error. Okay, I'll show you what exactly error it gives you. So
we can edit the visual code also now, Visual Studio Code.
You can use Visual Code IntelliJ as well, but I prefer using this bit.
And in a Visual Code, we can use this extension also for the Ansible, as a like Terraform extension we can be used, so that the same way, same format it's come in the Visual Studio also. For the suppose
Correct.
you are
See
making.
Yeah. See, the thing is, there is Ansible. It's basically, it works on YAML. So
okay,
you can use any extension related to YAML.
Okay.
Sure. So I had told you earlier we would be using a playbook, right? So in this sample exercise, what I'm doing is I'm just creating a directory. Okay, so I'm not installing other softwares because it will take a little bit time in order to install and all those things. So in this example, what I'm doing is creating a directory. Okay, in the first task, if you see here, this particular directory I'm creating it for web server, and then I'm creating a file called as a web.txt and putting these 2 lines. Basically, whatever you wanted to keep it, you can add it. So after that, I'm in this particular task, what I'm doing is using a loop. These many files I'm creating it under this particular directory. Okay, so the same thing I'm doing it for the database as well. It is basically same thing. It's creating in the database folder. That's it. Okay. Coming back to inventory, so if you could see here, this is my inventory. Web server is the name you have given it. You can give anything, right? Basically, it's just a naming convention. So if you give, if you change anything, you need to make sure that your YAML file is there, right? So here it has to be changed. Okay, the host where exactly it has to go and deploy it. Okay, and here since I have only one virtual machine, so I had kept it as I have given it as a web server 01, and Ansible host name I have given it. So it is basically my public IP address, and this is the username which is used on my virtual machine in Azure virtual machine. This is the web. This is the virtual machine. Okay, Azure Cloud. So next is Azure SSH private key. As I told you earlier, Ansible requires, in order to perform this task, it requires SSH connection, and on top of that, in order to authenticate, in order to log into the box, it should know either using username and password, or it should be configured using a private key and public key. Private key and public key is basically in order to understand the request coming from my laptop, it is legit or not. So in that case, what we do is, here I have mentioned this is my private key, right? So what I have done is I'll show you where exactly my local public key I have pasted it. Okay. So
Sangamesh, one question, if I may ask.
Yeah.
Hey, good evening. You were talking about the looping of those text files.
Yeah.
So we have to create those text files and save it into the temp location, right? Or how is it?
This is a destination where exactly it has to be copied. So this is the.
So that's a file name. That's just a file name which we are naming it in the YAML file, correct?
Correct.
So we are not individually creating them. This gets created automatically.
Correct. It will create automatically. It's basically a touch command we are using it in order to create those many files.
I missed that. Sorry. Thank you very much. Thank you.
No problem.
Sorry.
So let us now. I've already logged in to my box. So this is the IP address. You can see my Azure one. So here you can see this is my public IP address. Okay, and one caution for you guys. So if you're creating a public IP address, you should make sure that your NST is there. NST network security group, right? Make sure that you enable port 22 only for your IP address. This is my IP address. This rule is I've added as IP address. Make sure that you add your IP address. Basically, you can find it out if you type my IP address. If you search it, you can get your IP address. Reason being is that precaution why you have to take it is anyone can hack it, right? And in order to stop that happening, so you need to give your IP address so that it is one little bit safety net it would be there. So that is the reason I have added from my laptop on a 22 port SSH can be I can log in it from my laptop. Okay.
So this IP address should be the one from wherever we are executing the playbook, right?
Correct. So since it is for a beginner bet, ideally you would be using this kind of a bet. So in your proper, if you are working on for any client, in that case there is a different mechanism how you can achieve that SSH configuration. There are a couple of ways. With that one, you can connect to a remote machine, right? So in this example, what I'm showing you is, I'll go back to the PPT. So you have seen it, right? You are a system admin from your laptop. Since it's a beginner exercise, what I'm showing you is you are a system admin or a DevOps agent. Using Ansible, you would be performing few activities. In this case, 3 tasks basically: creating of a folder, one file I'll be creating it, and creating a couple of files basically on a particular web server. Okay, this is the activity I would be doing it now. Okay, so I'll log into the box. Okay, it didn't ask me the password. Reason being is I've configured my public key. So where exactly once your virtual machine is created, you need to log into your box, and then basically if you .ss it, so there is authorized keys are there. So this is my public key. Okay, so I have pasted my public key over here. So this is a SSH protocol. I mean, how it identifies it. If any request is coming via my Mac, I have authorized it. So that is the reason I have added my public key. Okay. So coming back to this example, since I have tested it already, so that is the reason these folders are there in the temp folder. I'll delete it off now. Okay. So if you could see here, now in the temp directory, only these many things are there on my virtual machine. Okay, that is this particular virtual machine. Okay, so nothing is there. So in order to run this bit, so what we would be doing is, so earlier I had told someone has asked, I think Bharat, I guess, how exactly Ansible would be knowing about it, right? So what we pass is inventory.yaml file. That is basically this one. So for my Ansible command, what I'm telling is -i is nothing but an inventory, and I'm passing this inventory file and the playbooks basically. Ideally, it should do first this, but since it is a sequential order, first it has to create a directory and then it has to go here. That's the next file. So currently what it is doing is it is getting either somehow it is not doing sequential order, it is missing this bit, and directly it is going here. So what it is thinking is this particular directory doesn't exist, so it is unable to, it is failing it. And here also same thing it is. If you see the errors, if you see the old errors, 1 second, it was clearly it was showing the directory doesn't exist, destination directory doesn't exist. So what it is doing is it has to go sequential order, first this and then create this, but somehow it is skipping this bit. So directories doesn't exist, so that is the reason the next task is also getting failed. So I'll try to find it out why exactly it is happening. So for this demo 6, what I will do is I'll show you for this demo's sake. If you see here, nothing is there. So first I will do is I will run this this particular task so that it will create it. Then only I'll enable next task, so that before running this bit, this dependency of this particular folder exists. Okay, ideally it should do it in a sequential order, and because it is at the first task is this one, so it should create this directory rather than executing this one. Obviously what it is was trying to do is running this first. This particular folder itself doesn't exist, it doesn't know where to put it. Okay, so first what I will do is now I have added only one task which will create this particular directory in my remote box. Okay, so if you see here, I'm in temp folder, but I don't have any files, any folders. Okay, so it said changed one. Okay, so setup of this particular task, it did it now. Okay, so set up Ansible directory for install. If I go into the box, so if you see here, this particular demo directory, it is created now. Okay, so if you see here, nothing is there. Okay, I will enable the next tasks. Okay, so creating a file with the content. Okay, it said the OK1 and changed one. So basically, what it looked after this one is there is already a folder present, so it won't do this particular task now. So only this one wasn't there, so it tried to create it. So let us go and check it. Okay, so if you see here, web.txt is there. Okay, line 01 and line 02. So let us modify it. Okay, so I've modified it, I've saved it. Let me run this again. Okay, so it modified it, changed one. Okay, so let us cat again. So you have seen it, right? So the data got modified. Okay, so now let us run let us create this particular files. These many files, it has to create it in destination box. So if you see here, we have only one file. Okay, other than that one, nothing is there. Okay, so let us clear it, run the demo. So if you see here, it is create multiple files. If you see here, this task was didn't show it. This task also it didn't show it. So internally what Ansible checked is this. It checks it whether it's present or not. So it is already present. It will skip those tasks. So it created these many 4 files. So let us now check that files. So if you see here, all those 4 files are created. In this way, we run it. So